I want to go through the Human Atlas application, do like that dissection thing we talked about, and then I want to do, we can talk about the review stuff. Do you want to go through the review list in case we run out of time to go through all the Human Atlas stuff? Okay. No, somebody else said okay. Okay. And I already wrote the test, so it's like, it's pretty long.
Is it finishable in an hour and
Yeah.
15 minutes?
Yeah.
An hour?
So it's like 10 pages long, but most of it is like pictures to like identify. Do you know what I mean? Okay. So everything that is a concept, like talking about like vital capacity in our lungs, or like what the definition of the scientific definition of support is, everything that we talked about with that is on the test. Okay. Does that make sense? So anything that's not like identifying a muscle that we talked about is going to be on the test. I put like everything that I had in my slides on there. Then I put all of the main muscles, so like the primary muscles of inspiration and exhalation are all on there, plus some of the secondary ones. So not all of them, because you all don't have time to do all that.
Okay.
But and then for the phonation stuff, it's the same thing. With all the concepts are on there, and then the like primary muscles of the larynx, you should be able to identify which cricoarytenoids and like the thyroarytenoid and all those muscles, but not necessarily the secondary like laryngeal elevators and depressors. There are some of those on there, but not every single one of them. Okay.
Okay.
Does that make total sense?
Yeah.
Any questions? Megan looks like she has a question.
It just sounds a lot.
It's a lot, but it's not so bad. Okay. So you have to know like your abdominal muscles, you have to know what your diaphragm is, you have to know what all three of the intercostals are. Those are all on there. Then there's some of the secondary ones for inspiration and exhalation, okay? So focus on studying that stuff.
So all primary muscles.
Yeah.
All.
All 70, it's
Can
not
you
all
say
70.
the concepts one more time? You said the concepts that,
We'll go over them
oh,
when we talk about it. Okay? Cool. So do you guys want to go through the concepts before we start talking about the
Yes.
muscle review? Let's do
Yeah.
that, so that we know what we're talking about. Okay. So there was the Boyle's Law thing with the marshmallow, squishing the marshmallow. Y'all remember that?
Yes.
volume and,
I know. It's long. It's okay. I don't know why it's long. I'm just gonna stick this.
Oh, I like it.
Okay, so Boyle's Law was, so I want you to know the equation for that. And the equation was
PK equals
PD equals K, right? Which means what in regards to what?
volume.
Inversely related, right? So every time I talked about how like when your pressure goes up, your volume goes down, right? Exactly. Yeah. So that's what we have to know with that. That's one of the concepts. Okay, so then I had a definition for breath support that was on my slides that I wanted you guys to memorize. It was this.
Relationship.
Dynamic relationship between muscles of inspiration and exhalation
Yeah.
that are used to control the pressure in the air supplied to the larynx. Okay.
One more time.
Yeah, I'll do it again.
Oh, okay.
Can I just read it? Okay. The dynamic relationship between muscles of inspiration and exhalation that are used to control the pressure in the air supplied to the larynx. That was the James McKinney definition of it. Right? So the important parts of that is that it's a relationship between the muscles of inspiration and exhalation. So it's 3 points already. It used to control the pressure supplied to the larynx. So it's like 6 points. Yeah.
Whoa. A
Whoa.
lot of points.
I know, so memorize it.
Yep.
So the reason for that definition is because anything you guys come up with in your lessons or something about that, you're talking about like breath pressure and like using your air and all this stuff, it all can relate to that, right? So you have to use both inhalatory muscles and exhalatory muscles in order to create breath support, right? Are we in agreement with that? Okay, good. That's basically what it is. And then I had one about breath control that I wrote. The reason I wrote that is because Scott McCoy doesn't define breath control actually. He just talks about it a lot. And that's regulating the airflow through the glottis. Right? That's breath control. Because it's part of that support technique. Does it make sense? Do I need to write it on the board or something?
Can you repeat that one more time, sorry?
Yeah. Which part?
Just the definition that you had for breath control.
For breath control? Mine was, it's the regulation of the airflow through the glottis. Because you're using your vocal folds to control it. But you can also use like things like your ventricular folds. You good with that? Everybody got it? Okay. So that is like word for word on the test.
You got it.
Awesome. Okay. So then I talked about 4 breathing techniques that we had. That is a concept that's on the test too. And I want you to talk about the differences between the 4 of them. Okay. So can we talk about the 4 of them?
Clavicular.
Clavicular? Yep. Tommy, do you know one?
Not off the top of my head. Look at my notes.
That's good.
Thoracic.
Thoracic? Okay.
Shoulder, the ab, and balance.
Abdominal and balanced, right? Okay, so we had 4. Clavicular, thoracic, abdominal, and balanced. Right? And so clavicular was shoulders, right? Good. Thoracic, only your chest. That's like opera singer, big poofy man, right? And then abdominal is only your abs. So even though we talk about using like low breathing all the time, abdominal is only when you do that. Okay? And you don't incorporate everything else. Balanced is using all of them. Right? So in the middle of the triangle. Right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So that was a concept that was on there.
That was my favorite.
Okay, and then the vital capacity, so like lung size inside. So I talked about lung size being proportional to vocal fold size, right? So if your vocal folds are bigger, your lungs are bigger. Yeah,
And that's like just fact.
it's a fact.
Gotcha.
Yeah. You're not gonna find, I mean, in reason, except for like things like castratos and stuff like that, right?
Oh, yeah, but that's like.
I mean, yeah, it's weird, right?
that's
So-
long.
Okay, and then we had the total lung capacity, TLC, right? Tender loving care, everybody loves it. For females was how much? 35 liters, right? And for males, 4 to 7. Okay, that question might be on the test. May or may not be. Maybe or maybe not be. Okay, and then what was our residual volume?
Just want you to expel as much air as possible, but you can't.
But it's, so it's a volume, right?
It's what's left over after.
Oh. It's what's left over after you do it. So these, all of these titles have a lot of like hints in them, right? Because they're very scientific. So if I say like residual volume, that means that it's like an amount, right? So like for instance, I'm gonna say, when you got, everybody had that question about how fast sound goes through your larynx. Okay, I was asking about the speed of the sound and people were giving me like what the speed of sound is. But I wanted like a time, because I was saying how fast. Right?
Okay, so when you ask what is residual volume, you don't want a definition, you want the value.
No, I want the definition.
Oh, you want the definition.
But it's a volume, so it's like a space. So if
there's
you
a
say,
clue to what the definition is.
so like somebody said it's what's left, but it's like an amount of what's left. So it's air that's left over. Do you know what I mean?
You're saying that it's a clue to help you define more specifically.
Yeah, right,
Oh, cool,
exactly.
cool, cool, cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
Does that make sense to everybody else? Okay, sweet. So that was residual volume. Vital capacity, there was an equation that went with it that talks about the things we just talked about, right?
Total capacity
Total minus
residual capacity.
Yep, equals vital capacity,
Vital
right? And so that's a range. I mean, we didn't do any of these equations, but it's gonna be like 3.5 liters or something, you know what I mean? Like, and it's actually measurable. Yep. And then the tidal volume, it's how much, is what?
It's like 0.5 centimeters at rest, but it's like when the air.
Okay, so if I want, right, so if it's 0.5 liters, not centimeters, right,
Like,
cause it's volume.
Sorry.
Okay, I know. So it's the air we exchange, right? So tidal means changing, right? And volume means space.
What does that mean, the air we exchange?
So it's like when we breathe. So if I go, my tidal volume is how much air I was just breathing then. And so so like if we're running, it's higher because we're exchanging more air. Okay? But if we're just like sitting here, like all you guys, you're only breathing about 0.5 liters.
So when you say exchange, is the process of inhalation and exhalation?
Right, yep. That's how much air goes through when you do that. Does that make sense? Everybody? Nadia, you look confused.
Yeah.
Okay, you good? Alright, sorry. Good. And then we had the pressure to phonate was the pa thing. Okay, but I don't think that's on the test.
You don't think it's, you don't think.
I don't think it's on the test. Okay, so that was all the concepts for respiration. Okay? Cool. Let's do the ones for phonation, then we'll look at the muscle stuff, okay?
Got it.
You guys are gonna be fine. This isn't like, it's not a, I'm basically telling you what's on the test. Okay, so for phonation, the biggest thing were the three models of how our vocal folds work, right?
Yeah.
Which were, Tommy, looks like you got it.
Myoelastic aerodynamic model, Chris.
Yes! Awesome, that's one.
Name column, so.
What else we got?
One source?
One mass model. One mass.
Yeah, oh yeah, and then.
And then 6 myths.
Three masses.
Three Massachusetts.
So myoelastic aerodynamic, if you look at the name, right, what is it gonna tell us?
Air.
Muscle elastic air, right, so what does each of those three parts mean? Muscles, they get stretched, right? We use muscles. Elastic means they're stretched. Okay, sorry, screwed that up. And then aerodynamic means that the air goes through them, right? So this one is the Bernoulli effect one, right? So that you push air through it, and because the pressure goes down, they come together, right? And you can use Bernoulli effect to define that one, right?
It's just a fancy name for the Bernoulli effect.
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, it happens like, it's the same thing as elliptical. We've talked about it before, that's why I'm not going over it super in depth, right? Because we talked about it in the intro stuff. Okay, then the one mass model was what part of it? So remember, they build upon each other. So we have the myoelastic aerodynamic, that's like going, right?
And there's
And then
the
the-
one mass model.
And then the one mass model is when,
Front to back, they.
It's
Oh,
when
is that
there's
the
low
first?
pressure,
That's a three mass.
low pressure above the vocal.
it's the low pressure above the vocal folds. Yep, good Jenny. So because remember, it's the Bernoulli effect working vertically, right?
Does the one mass model also state that it's all an airship bit, right?
Yep.
You need to keep providing air for the course to keep vibrating.
Yep, totally.
I don't really understand the difference between, like, I could write out exactly what you put on the slides, and then I could get the points on the test, but I don't really understand the difference between the Bernoulli effect and then the one mass, because it just seems like the same thing, because the Bernoulli effect creates low pressure.
So when they,
Together.
right, I totally understand. I want to explain it. Okay. So the Bernoulli effect is how we get the vocal folds to come together, like this. Okay. That's what. So most people remember that. If you're going to ask somebody about myoelastic aerodynamic, like how your vocal folds work, it's because of the Bernoulli effect. Okay. There are more advanced ones that they've had to test in order to account for certain things that happen in the way that they come together. Okay.
Okay.
So that's like saying that gravity works on Earth, but doesn't work on the moon. Never mind. No, that's wrong.
I don't,
It's totally wrong. Okay. So like they could do this, but then they had to come up with why does it like wave when it comes together? Why does it go like this? Right. Because when it comes together here, there's low pressure on top, and so that draws the rest of them together.
okay. So without the one mass, what would our vocal folds do?
They don't do this.
They would clap.
Right.
Oh,
Okay. So it's part of the mucosal wave.
okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, that's like a easy way to understand it. Okay.
Yeah,
There's
I like
more
easy
to it.
way. I
Okay.
like easy.
Yeah, me too. It's always so much better that way. Okay, is everybody clear in the one mass model? It's the low pressure and the inertia. The low pressure above the vocal folds and the inertia that makes it keep going, okay?
Yeah.
And then the three mass model is the front to back one, right?
There are 3 layers that make it. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
The different masses of the 3 layers
Mhm.
cause it to.
It's the different tautnesses at the different parts of the vocal folds, right? So if we had like a rubber band that was stretched, it's tighter closer to the points where it's connected rather than in the middle. Does that make sense? Are we all good on that?
Yep.
Okay, that is on the test. So we're all clear enough to write that down. Okay, awesome. Alex is liking this game. Good. So we had those 3.
Wait, I have a question.
Yep.
I'm sorry. So you just said that it was because of the different tautness, right?
Mm-hmm.
How it was stretched. But on here it says like the mass. Is that the same thing? Tautness and mass?
Yeah, so like the mass is different in the layers and how, when they're tight, it changes. Does that make sense?
Sure. Changes the mass.
No, but it changes the tautness of it. So at different points it vibrates more and less.
Because they have different mass.
Yeah. Well, and they're more like viscous or whatever, right? They're more able to move. Does that make sense? Okay, so remember on the, no, I want you all to understand this. So this is good. When we looked at the video,
I just feel like you're saying 2 different things. So I just need to understand how you're saying that.
I'm confused too, Jenny.
it's okay if you're
I'm not
confused.
the only one I'm confused with.
Okay, I don't have sound on it today, for whatever reason. But,
You were all thinking.
so the 3 mass model is how it does the wave this way. Do you see how it like waves? Right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's because of the tautness and the different mass. Because there's less.
Tautness and the different mass.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense.
Okay, it's the same thing. So there's less of it on the edges. Okay?
There's less mass.
To move. Because they're not as thick and they're more taut down here.
What do you mean on the edges?
So like
Oh, like-
here and up here.
Oh.
Because it's like a rubber band, right? So when you stretch the rubber band, it's more taut on the edges.
Okay.
Does that make sense, to everybody?
Is it,
So when it's stretching, it's almost like the mass is redistributing a little bit.
Yeah, right. Because there's more, they're thicker in the middle
Yeah.
than they are in the ends.
Right. Yes, that makes sense. Okay.
Does that help, Jenny?
yeah.
Okay, if you're still unclear, you can keep asking questions, it's fine. That's why we're doing this. Okay? So let me, if you want to talk to me about it, we can talk about it too. Okay? Good.
So, sorry, the tautness creates a different mass or the different masses exist before the tautness comes?
It creates the different mass,
Okay.
okay? Because when it's tighter, there's less mass to move. It's just like the rubber band analogy is really good, because you stretch it, it's more stretched at the points where it's connected, right? It's good, there's no dumb questions, right? Okay, good. Because this stuff does get really confusing. Okay, great. So then in the phonation, we talked about onsets and offsets too, right? And Dr. King was all like, oh, you should go back and teach them all the Bernard recordings. But I couldn't find them, and we don't have enough time. So, also, they're ancient. So there were 3 different kinds of onsets and offsets, right? We had hard, soft, and balanced. So for hard, can somebody tell me about a hard onset? Yep, so that's like, what does it sound like? Yeah, right, so it's a glottal, right?
More closure comes before breath flow.
Yep. And so the closure is before breath flow, because we pop it open. Okay? Everybody got that? Good. So, and then the soft one? Right, exactly. We hear a lot of that when we're talking. And then balanced is when they come together at the same time as the airflow goes through. Yeah? Okay, that's on the test too. And then we have that for flow phonation, that happens during phonation, right? And flow phonation is the balanced one during phonation. Because we can increase the breath pressure while we're singing to go like, ooh, right? And that's like hard singing. That's not good. Does that make sense?
Yep.
What is flow phonation?
When you have a balance between the closure and your breath flow.
Oh,
Flow phonation, is what you just said?
Mhm.
So can you call them strong, weak, or force soft, or does it really not matter?
Hard and soft is better.
Hard and soft.
Hard, soft, and balanced. So that's one of the words where if you go back and read books from 20 years ago, they're going to say different words for it. It gets really annoying. Right, so some of them are forced and some of them are soft. And
Or hard and soft.
yeah, right. That's the more generally accepted one now. Okay. Plus, I think there are better words to use for it too, because like hard is very like, that's not like strong, because strong has a connotation of like, yeah, we want that, which we don't, you know. Voice teachers love to talk about this stuff. Okay, so we had that. So there's a question on intensity for how we make our voices louder. This was the advanced concepts thing, okay? There's two parts of it. There's faster air and thicker vocal folds. That's what makes your voice louder. Okay? I'm going through this, not asking you the question because I want to make sure you know what you're talking about. So the faster air means that our vocal folds come together harder. Is louder than,
Right.
okay? Because there's less pressure, because the air is moving faster, so there's even less pressure between them, so they come together faster. Right?
Mhm.
Good.
And also they have more surface area, is that what?
That's what I'm about to talk about.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So when they're thicker, they have more surface area, which is like hitting,
Mhm.
okay?
So you should be louder if your vocal cords are like kind of swollen.
No.
I think that probably goes too far on the other side. But it is, okay, so when Maestro Beto was super sick at the beginning of the semester, his speaking voice was louder because his vocal folds were swollen, right?
They just wouldn't necessarily have the elasticity that they would need to sing at
Right.
for a long
Yeah.
period of
Yeah.
time. So they may be louder in the short term, but singing capability definitely
Yeah.
may diminish.
And I mean, we all wake up and if our vocal folds feel like really like, but we feel like we talk really loud sometimes. And, I mean, we've all done that, right?
Most folks.
Yeah.
I have it.
Does that make sense?
I'll have those.
Okay, so the faster air makes the folds go together faster, and the thicker ones make them have more surface area that hits. That's the answer to that question. Yeah, Jamie.
Did you say that we needed to know about offsets?
So onsets and offsets are the same, yeah.
Okay, cool.
So you can have a hard offset, onset. I think I put them as the same thing in the same question.
Okay.
So just talk about like what the hard offset onset is, soft one. Because they're the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yep. Okay, I think that's all the concepts that we had that I put on that's important. I mean, we have things like tracheal pull, that's not on the test.
Great.
And like what makes the pitch, is longer, longer vocal folds are more taut, so they're higher pitch, and the shorter ones are lower because they're thicker. Yeah. Okay, that's all the concepts. We cool with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think everything we just talked about is on the test, unless I specifically said it's not. Okay?
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
I'm putting it down. Okay, so now for the muscles. Let's go through the primary ones, and then we'll talk about the secondary ones, and then if we have time, we'll do the dissection stuff, okay?
Progress.
Oh, doing great, man. Alright, so respiration. Let's do primary muscles. Okay, first the spine is on there, so knowing the different sections, right?
Yeah,
Cervical, thoracic, lumbar, sacrum, and you should know what number of vertebrae go through each one. So there's a picture that you have to write down what it is on there, okay? It's not that hard. It's like 1 through 7, 1 through 12, 1 through 5, and 5 fused together. Okay? Awesome. You can just, there's one on the slide, basically. It's basically doing this thing. Yeah. Right there. Awesome.
So you have 5 sections listed.
The
Yep.
caucus.
There's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
On the
Look
left
at
side,
your-
at what you wrote.
Yeah, but this is just the little tiny ones that make the tail.
Okay, so we don't need to do that.
No,
Okay.
it's these 4. It's not really part of your spine.
Oh, it's just a fake part.
Yeah, it's your tailbone.
Okay.
So like my dogs have really big coccyx. Okay, anyway. Awesome.
Good one, dude.
Okay, so the lungs. How many lobes of the lungs do we have?
We have 5.
5.
5, right?
3 on the right,
3 on the right,
2
2 on the left, because of
Okay.
the heart.
So if I asked you to draw a picture on a test,
Boom,
Of it.
boom, boom, boom.
you can do that.
Hearts draw like 3.
Also, so there's like the trachea and the alveoli and all those things. I want you to draw, and the bronchial tubes on a
Want us to
picture.
draw them? You want us?
Yeah, it can be really bad.
I love that.
Just like general fuzz.
And label?
Then
Yeah,
Do you have to get specific?
You know.
about the levels of bronchial tubes,
No.
or can you just be like,
Just say the
this is
bronchial
trachea,
tubes.
these are your
Bronchial
bronchial
to the
tubes.
bronchial.
exactly.
There's like 5 layers.
Because it doesn't really matter if you know like the first third of the sound that you're
I know, I was.
It's important when you're like gonna do surgery on somebody, right? But not so
I'm
much
not
for the
doing
second.
that.
Yeah, right. We don't really feel that. Okay, sweet. So that's the lungs and our spine. That's on there. Then we get primary exhalation muscles. So which ones were those? Which ones of the intercostals are primary?
That's exhalation.
internal or
Internal is for
expiration?
You have all the obliques.
Okay.
Hang on. So the intercostals are the internal intercostals, right?
Okay.
Right. And so those are on the inside, and they make your rib cage do what?
Expand.
Okay.
Oh, no, there's no.
Contract.
Wait, are we doing
Internal.
exhalation or exhalation?
Internal
Wait, you just
intercostal muscles. of
Did I screw
expiration.
something up?
You said exhalation.
Yeah, right.
Oh, oh,
Internal intercostals.
then they bring.
We were doing exhalation.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Internal
So they don't bring your rib cage.
I didn't screw something up. I was like,
They bring it back in.
so they do what to your lung volume?
They do.
Decrease.
Decrease, right? Okay. So when I'm asking you to like label these, every time I ask you like what it does
Cool.
to help with your exhalation, I'd say decreasing your lung volume is sufficient for some of those, you know, so for like the secondary ones you want to be like, oh, it makes your head turn or whatever, right?
Mm.
Oh.
Yeah. But that will like raise your rib cage, right?
It raises your rib cage?
Okay.
Oh.
Not the, I was talking about something else.
Oh, okay. Jesus.
So there's 3 parts to it. You'll get a picture that has like a number pointing to where it is, and you have to say what that muscle is and what it does. Okay? That's it. That's what's on the test. Good. So that was the internal intercostals. So then we have the muscles of the abdomen for the exhalation muscles, right? Okay. So for this one, I'm gonna have one picture that has all of them on it. Okay? It's gonna be like somebody's abdomen dissected. So there's the external obliques, which are like this, right? And the internal obliques are like this. And they're inside the external obliques.
Logically enough.
Well, yeah, but that might help you identify it on the test, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. The rectus abdominis is the one that goes from here down to here, right? That makes you do sit-ups. Transverse abdominis is the one inside that gets really tight. That's the one that doesn't really change length, right? And that helps with posture. And then there's the quadratus lumborum, which is the ones in the back. Right?
Quadratus lumborum.
Okay, so there's 5 of them. So, an important part to know about, I'm not gonna have them listed, so you don't get an option, you have to know what they're called in your head. Okay, no word bank. Sorry. Unless you guys think it's like really, I think you can memorize them, it'll be fine.
Oh.
Yep, okay.
So it's-
And then there's also the aponeurosis, which is the sheet that they're all in, right?
Yes.
It's like the white thing, whenever you see it. Okay, we all got that? Okay, good.
So
So
all
the-
of those terms are on the same chart to
Yeah.
label? Okay.
except for the internal intercostals.
Right.
So the intercostals are on one altogether, the
Right.
abs are all on one together.
Okay.
It'll be very clear. Yeah. Okay, so the primary muscle of inspiration, that does what to our lung volume?
Increases.
Increases, good, awesome. There's two of them,
Diaphragm.
Diaphragm?
Excellent.
good. Now let's do, okay, so we got all of that stuff's on the test still, okay?
Yes.
Great. Let's do the primary muscles of phonation now. Okay,
Yeah.
so we're not gonna do that secondary exhalation, inhalation muscles.
Are they not on the test?
There are some of them on the test, but I'm just going through everything that's like absolutely on there first, okay?
Entiendo.
Okay. So, there's 5 muscles intrinsic in the larynx that are really important, okay? There's the thyroarytenoids, which are the actual vocal folds, right? And there's also something that runs through it that helps them move. What's that called?
Vocal ligament.
Vocal ligament, right. Okay, you have to identify that too. There's the cricothyroid, which is down here, right between your cricoid and your larynx, and it makes your larynx do what?
Tilt.
Tilt, yep. If you think about the models we made for these, that's kind of why we did it, so we could see how what the muscles do to everything. Okay, then there's the lateral cricothyroid, which does what?
Name one more time, I'm so sorry.
Lateral cricoarytenoid.
Brings the fold.
I know, I said thyroid, sorry.
That brings
It's
in
an
to-
adduction, it's the rotator adductor.
Right, yes.
And the interarytenoids are the pull together adductor.
Okay, yep. So if I had 2 things that represent my wizard hat arytenoids, right? Which one makes them do this? So if they're like this, and if I want to do this, which muscle does that? The lateral cricoarytenoid, right?
Right.
Because it's attached here to the arytenoid and to the cricoid down here, so it goes, right? Okay? Everybody got that? Awesome. So then we have the interarytenoid, which does this. Yep, it's in between them. So we'll have to identify that on picture 2. Okay? And then there's the posterior cricothyroid, which does
Is it?
Posterior
Oh.
cricoid.
arytenoid. I keep screwing them up, sorry guys.
Lateral cricoarytenoid and posterior cricoarytenoid are both cricoarytenoid muscles.
Mm-hmm.
Can we just look at a picture?
Lateral
Do you have
posterior.
the slide somewhere?
Yep. Okay, so this one's the lateral.
Right, yes.
Where to put my pointer thing? So it's pulling this way. Just go shh, close like that. Because if I pull this way, it makes it turn inside. Yep. Good. Then the next one's the interarytenoid, brings them together. It's the one that's right in between there. That's inter. In between, inter. And this is the posterior cricoarytenoid that opens them up.
So is that just on the outside of the inner? I'm confused about where that one is.
So it attaches to the cricoid down here and the arytenoids up here. So when it contracts, it pulls that this way and makes those open.
Okay,
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 make sense?
yes.
So, will we label like separate pictures or like circle a part of them and write what it is?
It's one picture
Okay,
that,
and we'll like kind of say what it,
huh?
never mind.
It'll just be like a picture of all the muscles.
We
So
just
if you
kinda
know,
point
It's not up. You have to know where they are, right? So if you know that this one's out here, you're gonna know which muscle that is.
Okay.
Okay. You know that this one's in between, inter, you're gonna know what muscle that is. If you know that this one's back in the back, you're gonna know which one that is. Okay? Also, the pictures that are on the test are none of the ones that we've seen in class, just so you know. They're new ones. But they'll be, everything's labeled, just remember, it'll be fine, okay? I just want you to be able to see them in different sources and everything. So if you wanna go, like, look these up, you can put into Wikipedia, interarytenoids, and like 300 pictures of them will come up, okay? So, something to do, if you really want to. We all clear about that? So those are the intrinsic laryngeal muscles, there's 5 of those, okay? I might give you guys the word bank on the test, because that would that be better?
Love that.
Okay, so then if I'm gonna give you the word bank, you have to be a lot better about telling me exactly what the muscles do. Okay?
Oh, Lord.
Is that okay?
Done. Absolutely.
Okay, awesome. I'll tell you which one's the label, just make sure you tell me what they do. Okay?
You got it.
You good?
Yes.
So the extrinsic laryngeal muscles. Oh, there's another thing. I want you to draw the thyroid cartilage and label like the anterior commissure and the superior and inferior horns on it. Okay. So we made them in class. So draw a horrible picture. It's a triangle and a stick. I don't care. Just you know what I mean.
Okay. You got it.
I did.
What are we drawing again?
That's the thyroid cartilage.
So just the triangle and the stick are what we need to understand.
There's sticks on the bottom and.
Yeah, but, so you need 2 sticks, but or you can have 1 stick.
Oh, it's a long stick. I like that. Okay, I'm gonna do that.
Long stick and a triangle. I know how to draw both of those things.
Okay. There's also a picture. Like this kind of thing, where I want you to label like those kind of structures.
Great.
Okay?
On that picture?
No?
Is it the same vantage point?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great. That's what I mean.
Well, I mean, that'll make a difference.
Oh my god.
It doesn't matter. Well, how else are you gonna put the vantage point in it? So if we had, this thing is called, yeah, so we could label that, right? Okay, great.
Ooh,
We could label these things, right? False vocal folds.
Oh no, those aren't those.
We could, what's this gray thing on the outside is what?
Thyroid cartilage.
Yeah, good. Ian.
Okay, so on the graph,
Uh-huh.
ventricle is pointing to a spot above the vocal folds,
The ventricle's the space.
but
That's
it
it.
says below the vocal folds over there.
No,
It's
It-
above?
It means below the false vocal folds,
Aha, okay,
right?
interesting.
Where did I say that?
Laryngeal ventricles.
Yeah, false vocal folds.
Okay.
I will change that. Hooray. Yay. Everybody got that? Okay, awesome.
Yes.
We good with that?
Fabulous.
So those are the intrinsic laryngeal muscles. The extrinsic ones only do 2 things to your larynx. What do they do?
Raise them.
Raise it or
Whoa,
lower it.
whoa.
Okay. So there are some of those on the test too, okay? Let's do,
The higher voices.
we've got 30 minutes. Let's do the dissection thing, because I think that's probably more important. That we like go through and look at how they're all looked at, okay? I'll try and do it for both the larynx and the abdominal muscles, okay? Okay, so here's our little abdomen guy. I think I can sit over here. Yeah. So if we have these guys up here, or which ones?
Pectoral space.
Yeah, good. So I'll hide those.
Miner's down there.
Minor is this guy, right?
Internalis
Wide. Good. And so then this one right here.
Rectus abdominis.
Good. And then that one is.
obliques.
External.
Sorry,
It's
what?
internal in this
Internal
picture,
obliques, okay.
But,
Those are the external.
okay, yeah. It's not, okay, so the external is invisible. Okay.
Oh.
Kind of operations.
I don't know. It's a
It'd be
different.
hard to label it on the test if
It's not gonna be invisible.
Oh, that's the external, because that goes this way, right? The muscle fibers are going down.
I just disappeared. This one is the transversus. We skipped the external one, okay?
Oh, okay.
Oh, so we're like underneath.
Yeah, so this is the external one, but see how it's like invisible?
Oh, but it's that whole area, right?
Right, yeah, exactly.
But it runs down.
Yep. And then we got our transversus one, so that's the one that doesn't change sides, right?
Yeah.
It's in there.
Oh,
That.
Oh, I know. It's kinda cool.
really.
You guys, he's dead, he's not in paper.
It's a computer program. Okay, so we're up here. We get these guys. Sternalis, you guys don't know what that is. So then we have all like our ribs here, right? So we've already gone through our primary muscles of exhalation out here, but we have to go through our intercostals, right? So this is the serratus anterior.
Which is inhalatory muscle.
Yep, because when it contracts, what's it gonna do? Lift up the rib cage.
Yeah.
Yep, good. Let's get rid of this stuff. So if we get rid of this guy, then we, so this is the internal intercostals, right?
Yeah. Wait, where are the external?
So the external are on the outside, right? They go between the
So
outside,
that one's that's highlighted right now is
yeah.
that one is the external.
It doesn't show it very well because it's not going, they go over the ribs.
The external intercostal?
Yeah.
Wait, I thought those
Oh,
were
they don't
internal
fit in
because those
between,
are
they go
going the way that they're supposed to go.
For the intercostals, it just matters if they're on the outside or the inside.
Wait, but the external intercostals go over the ribs?
Because they pull them up.
But I thought the things were supposed to go in a certain direction.
So, for the intercostals,
Yeah, you said on the slide.
yeah, so they pull them up this way, right?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
But the external on the slide say it's upside down G like that.
Yeah, like this. They pull them up.
But that's the way that you said
That's
it.
the V, right? It doesn't show it very well. Okay. So I just wanted to like go through. So those ones are on the, see how these are like so on the inside? So if we remember the external intercostals are on the outside, those are the ones that increase your lung volume, right? The internal intercostals are on the inside, so they squish your ribs together, okay?
Okay, so that's what's highlighted right now.
Yeah, okay. So these ones don't show the direction and everything super well, but on the pictures you'll be able to see them. So external is on the outside of the ribs, right? Internal is on the inside,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. So we go, and we can take off all of our ribs. Does this help you guys?
Chop.
Yeah?
Dude, that's crazy.
Can we talk about that rib stuff? Or are you gonna talk about that later? About like we talked about the different kinds of ribs, or like which ones, do we need to know those, the numbers?
How many ribs do you have? Yeah. Is there a difference between men and women?
No.
No. Okay, good. Awesome. So we took apart all these guys, right? So we get, what's this guy right here?
Diaphragm.
Diaphragm. It's huge, right? Look how big it is.
It's super huge. Zupa.
So big.
And also notice that it comes up to like right under your sternum, right? So it's actually up here. When everybody thinks about, like, if you're talking about body mapping, which is this whole other kind of Alexander technique thing, everybody thinks it's down here, but it's actually up like right in your sternum.
That's weird.
Can this program make any of the muscles move?
No,
Okay.
I think this program's like $200.
That's, the moving one is $500.
Then it isn't, probably.
No, I just made that up.
That was
Okay.
so dumb, Ian.
So we got those. What's this muscle right here?
I can't tell what that is.
It's inside the rib cage.
Internal.
That's the, and, you know, that's something's around.
Transversus thoracis.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, why is it?
Is it supposed to be?
It's inside. It helps make the ribs go contract, right? So it's a secondary muscle of
Exhalation.
exhalation. It's really good.
And then it was very distracting and
Okay.
it dies.
So we're gonna take out the diaphragm. So if we're looking back here, these ones are Tommy's favorite muscle.
I remember that they go 2 ribs down.
Subcostals.
So,
Yep. So see how there's a bunch of them? In the picture that's on the slide, there's only like 2 of them. But there's actually, they're in between a bunch of
Can we
them.
put a couple ribs back? It's kind of confusing.
Let me take them off on this side.
Like maybe just the middle one.
Does that help so you can see it like any?
Yeah. Oh, then that.
Yeah, he's for two. There you go. Yeah, that's good.
Okay. So we had those ones. Then these guys right here are what? Levator Castormi, right?
Oh, I was right?
Yep. And then we get the little ones are the, oh, we don't have those. We don't talk about those. Okay. Let's talk about the back muscles, okay? So we had, these are the secondary muscles of
Inspiration.
expiration. Because they make your,
Trust my gut.
okay. So we had our trapezius, right? Is this helping, or should we talk about something else?
No, this is good.
Okay, there's a lot of people talking, so I'm just curious. So get rid of that. And this one is Michael Hewitt.
Yeah, it's the laugh.
Oh yeah, bro.
It is though, he's right.
It is right. Okay.
Supposed to read that,
So what was this one right here?
but the wrong one.
That's the
The rhomboid major.
superior something.
Wrong way. Major, right?
Yes.
Because the minor is
Right
The
on
little
it.
one.
Yeah.
The one above.
Right there.
Right,
Tiny bits above it for some reason.
right there, that guy.
Oh,
Good.
Like,
maybe
when you
big
click it
minus.
right there.
So we had all those, right? So now we have 2 different, these guys and these guys.
Serratus.
Superior and inferior,
Inferior.
right.
For sure. Damn stupid.
And then this one, is it the one I think it is?
Rectus
No.
spinae.
I'm looking for that one, but I can't find it.
Is it hidden?
It's this one.
Ah.
No,
I thought,
No,
why did I think they were
is
all
it like the whole
connected?
thing? The,
yeah, oh, it's like all 3
Like,
of
It's all
those.
3 of them
yeah,
together?
it's like all them combined.
And this was our other primary muscle of exhalation right here, right? The quadratus lumborum.
Oh, that's that one.
Oh, way on the inside.
What's on the back, right?
Big booty.
So when teachers talk to you about feeling your breath in your back, they're talking about stretching that muscle. That means you are really full of air, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like the last thing that expands,
Probably,
probably.
really full. Okay. Is that cool?
That's
I don't think we
very
need
cool.
to- Do you guys want to do the larynx one?
Yeah, yeah.
That would be very helpful.
Okay. Then we might have like 10 minutes at the end for questions.
For more.
This is the bad one, sorry. One of these is bad, one of these is better. Okay.
Snake. Oh, look at.
It's like glass.
No, look at the little
Alright,
lizard.
so,
So, what's this guy?
Epiglottis.
Yep,
Pilates.
good. And then we have, this one rotates so weird.
Oh, so good.
And this is the,
Third.
so when I want you to draw it, this is like what I want you to draw. So we get the, what's here?
Nachi.
The superior horn.
superior horns, and these are
Inferior.
good, and this is the
Looks like it's.
Little mouth.
The abdomen.
anterior commissure. Up here,
There's some anterior.
commissure. Good. And what's really important is these articulate with what? So the inferior horns articulate with
Oh, with
these,
what muscle?
with the what? What structure? Cricoid cartilage, right? Because it sits on it and it tilts. Yeah. Okay, good.
The thyroid cartilage does, is that what you just said?
Yep.
Okay, amazing.
You got that?
I got it.
Good. So let's. You don't, Alex?
No, I got it.
Okay.
I got it. Now I do. I didn't.
You're welcome. Memory. Okay, so this is what's inside besides the.
Looks like a sword.
So that's okay. This is the thing that it's a ligament. I think it's the epiglottal ligament. Hyoepiglottic ligament. That's what attaches the epiglottis up. So when it pulls up, it goes into something.
That is a scary.
Okay.
Can you say that one more time? I like what you just said now.
Hyoepiglottic
Ligament,
ligament.
and it does.
It pulls the epiglottis up.
Oh, thank you.
That's what attaches the epiglottis, so it's easy to pull up.
Fabulous.
Because our epiglottis is open usually, it doesn't stay closed. It only closes when we swallow. Okay. So when we swallow, the muscles that constrict it go down.
And the
So the-
function is to cover the glottis so that food doesn't get into our trachea.
Right, exactly.
Love it.
We good?
Swallow, epiglottis, close, take over the glottis.
So we're gonna get rid of glottis, epiglottis, these guys.
No, it's like a triceps. Oh,
Okay, so this is like the musculature in our vocal folds now, okay?
amazing.
It's been a long time.
So these right here are what?
It's a slithering sneak.
Yep.
Those are
Vocal folds.
Those are the vocal folds. So like in a lot of these programs, they have like 3 different parts to them and names because like the vocalis is actually a different part of it, and just so you know.
Those are
I thought the
the
vocals
those
was
are the fossils. Oh, what is it called?
So these are, I'm just getting rid of
The little
parts.
white ones are the true ones. Aren't they?
So like the vocalis muscle is the part that's by the vocal ligament. Does that make sense? Like
Okay.
when they talk about it with
And
this
so
stuff.
that little white one is just only the vocal fold?
This is the vocal ligament.
Oh, that whole thing was it?
Yeah, everything I just
It's
took
so
apart.
big.
It's only how big across again?
18 to 22 centimeters. Or millimeters.
Millimeters. So it's as big as a.
Or some
Dime.
piece of currency.
I like that. I
It's
like the
big as a
eyebrows. The
dime.
eyebrows are giving me a lot of really good.
I'm sure. Okay, good. So we got rid of all those guys, right? So let's do these ones, right? So these are our Tommy's favorite
The sleep of.
Krakow.
sleep of wizard.
I can't even think of the real name, all I think
The
is.
rich-
Okay, so those are the arytenoids, right?
Yes.
Great. So then we have the different. So on the test, there we go.
Question, Chris.
Yes.
I remember when I was a kid, I had to have something like some minor surgery because of arytenoids. What, like, they don't get removed, do they?
No.
Okay.
You would have issues if you got
Yeah,
it removed.
right. Is there some like
You might have. Why did it happen?
They're a different
adenoids, not arytenoids? Okay.
Usually take them out with your tonsils. They do all
Yeah.
the-
So this is a great question you can talk about when the ENT comes.
Ooh.
So Eric Kowitsky's coming.
Oh.
He's great. Really good. He's cool. Awesome guy. Okay, good. So arytenoids right there, right? So then we have the different muscles that we're talking about, the adduct and the abduct then, right? So these ones right here would be the,
Enteroarytenoid.
right, okay, so there's actually like 2 different kinds of them, so don't worry about it. Okay, and then we get these ones,
The lateral cricoarytenoids.
yes. Those do what, abduct or
Rotate.
adduct?
Adduct, with a D and another D.
Yes, good, so those are terms I want you to use on the test. Talk about, okay, good, so that's those ones, and then these guys?
Posterior preco-original.
Good. So remember when you were asking me about like where they connect? You see how they go way down?
Yeah, this
Here.
makes more sense now, that other picture was just.
That's why the 3D stuff works so well. Okay, is that cool?
Yeah.
Yeah. But the picture that I had is like the one you're gonna have to identify just here. Because there's not a good way to show it. So we all got that?
Yeah,
Okay.
I wish I could.
I think that's the big stuff. Isn't it, is there something we missed that somebody wants to see?
Oh,
This is the program that's expensive that we can't find on our own.
Oh, we're done.
We good?
Sure.
Chalk?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Sure, bro.
Oh. So does anybody, we got
Where could I find?
15 minutes. Questions or explanations, do we wanna go over things?
Is that everything?
No.
That's everything except for all the secondary muscles and all that.
Wait, I thought we did this.
We did a lot of secondary muscle too.
We didn't do things like the respiration ones, like sternocleidomastoid. We did some of like the
Oh,
back muscles and the, we didn't do all of them though.
We should know last one, on Thursday?
We should what?
We should know all of them. If
Yes.
we don't know.
So some of them are on the test, not all of them. Okay. So there's like different ways you can do this, right? So I could teach this class where I give you all a bunch of little tests where I make you know like every single little muscle. But I think it's better to know the big concept in a bigger test like this. Just for your guys' sake. I know that seems like a lot, but you know we're not gonna have class for a week. So. Okay, what should we go over?
Can we do the secondary muscles? I mean, I don't know.
Yep.
if we do those
Do you guys wanna do secondary muscles?
Let's do it.
Okay. So let's do respiration. Those are probably, actually, let's do the laryngeal ones. Okay. Because I feel like we went through those faster. Do you guys agree? Maybe?
The secondary?
So there's different groups. So for the respiration muscles, there's secondary muscles of respiration and primary muscles of respiration. For the larynx muscles, there's intrinsic and extrinsic muscles. Yeah, is that clear? I will also, I'll type up these things that I'm going from and put them on Google Drive, okay? I've been meaning to do it, I just haven't done it yet, so that you can look at like all the terms laid out.
Ooh. I have a sort of unrelated question that won't obstruct what you're about to do. Would you say that inspiration and inhalation are interchangeable, or is there one of those words that you prefer?
I prefer inspiration
Okay.
because that's what they use in books,
Okay, thank you.
but they're the same thing.
Okay.
Okay. So we had things like the thyrohyoid muscle. These are the extrinsic laryngeal muscles, right? Do we all remember these?
Lifts the larynx.
Right. So if I give you a list, because I'm going to give you the muscle names now, these should be pretty easy to find. I'm going to give you the ones that you have to, I'm not going to fake you out, so I'm not going to give you one that's not on it. Okay?
No, but I mean for every single, like, for the primary stuff and for just everything?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
What?
I'm very excited.
Okay. Good. So if you had a muscle called the thyrohyoid, without looking at the picture, it goes between what?
The thyroid.
The thyroid and the hyoid.
Right. Good. So if you were given the name of this muscle and you had to find it on the picture, it would go right here, right?
Yeah.
Because this is your hyoid bone and your thyroid's down there, right? Great. So this stuff like really isn't that difficult, okay?
Yeah.
It's just, it seems like a lot, but it's not that much.
So easy to tongue-tie.
The digastric muscle,
It's got
two parts of it, right? And it loops between the hyoid bone and up here.
So it connects.
Does it connect to the hyoid bone?
Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
Do we need to know anterior and posterior? I mean, just label the two things.
You remember you have to be able to label it on a picture and tell me what it does.
Raises the larynx.
a little more than raises the larynx. Okay, so like if I say, but that's important, right?
Raises the larynx and makes it
And lowers the jaw.
tummy.
Yeah, lowers the jaw, something like that. It also does things, so it raises the larynx when I go like this. Like if I stick my jaw, you know how like people, when they open their mouths and sing, like if you, we'll talk about this more later, but if your jaw like goes forward, right? It pulls all these muscles and makes your hyoid bone go higher, right?
Hyoid.
Part of that, hyoid. Okay. Nadia, you alright?
Yeah, sorry, I'm just trying to read.
Question,
So-
are the things that the muscles do, the things that you've listed on the slide, sufficient answer?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Just making sure.
just don't say like elevates the larynx. Do you know what I mean? Something like so easy. Or is that just all I wrote?
Well, you said raises the larynx and lowers the jaw.
Yeah, so like opens the jaw, right? Something like that. Okay.
Just making sure.
So that there's more than like what group it belongs to, right? So why would I be asking you about the digastric muscle rather than the mylohyoid muscle? Do you know what I mean? That's what I'm going at with that. Is everybody clear on that? Okay, use your imagination.
It needs to be enough information to differentiate it completely from the other ones.
Right.
Because if you use just one of the multiple things that it does, then it could be referring to any of the muscles, and that's useless information.
Yep.
Got it.
And it's useful for us as singers so that we know like what we're doing with our voice and how it all connects to each other. That's why we're taking this class, right? Yeah. I know that it can seem like extraneous amounts of information for little return, but it makes a huge difference as you go through things. Okay, just so you know. And you can always like go back and refer to it, right? So we get things like stylohyoid muscle, styloid process, hyoid bone, right? Okay. Mylohyoid, that's the bottom of the tongue floor. The geniohyoid, that's like the straighter muscle that goes from the hyoid to the chin. Yeah?
What does genio mean as a root?
It's chin.
Chin is genio, okay. Glossus is
It's
tongue.
whatever this is. It's a dude. Glossus is your tongue. So if you notice in this picture, the geniohyoid would be like right in here, underneath the genioglossus. But it's like that kind of shape. And the mylohyoid is the floor of the tongue, right? Okay. Got that? Hyoglossus, that's the hyoid bone to the tongue. The genioglossus, genio to the tongue, chin to the tongue. Yeah? These are pretty straightforward. And then we have laryngeal depressors. There's only 3 of these, right? And they all connect to the omohyoid, and they're all below the hyoid, so you'll know which ones those are, right? So if this is the thyroid, sternothyroid, sternum to the thyroid.
And we'll have a bank, but we need to label and list purpose of.
So it'll be like a word bank
Uh-huh.
of what muscles are going to be there. I'm not going to give you ones that aren't there. And then there will be pictures with numbers pointing to whatever muscle I want you to label. Okay? Is that clear how we're going to do it? I think so. I think that's the best way. I mean, there's a million ways. And I've been through all of them, but that's the best one. Because it helps you relate it to everything else, right? Yeah. That's the point. Okay, so we had all these, omohyoid, sternohyoid. We talked about that. Okay? So those were like the extrinsic ones. And then we had the secondary muscles of inspiration. Let's do that. So we have things like sternocleidomastoid, which is the one that helps your head turn. So, but it's a muscle of inspiration because it raises the rib cage, right? So that's its secondary function, but the primary one is to help your head move, like Megan's doing, right? Right? So if I was asking you if you were talking about what this muscle did, that'd be part of your answer. Yeah. Hopefully. Scalenes, these little guys back here in your neck. Those aren't on there. I found a picture of that though. I was so proud of myself. Okay, pecs, I think y'all got that one. Subclavian, right? That's the one that's below your clavicle. And it just attaches to your first rib.
Okay.
Serratus anterior, we were all pretty clear about that one, I think, when we did the dissection. See, we haven't run into a muscle we haven't talked about on that dissection thing yet. So those were the ones on the anterior. So the posterior trapezius, we saw that. Levator scapulae. We had that one in there, but we didn't talk about it. Rhomboid, rhomboid minor. Posterior, serratus posterior superior, and this is the inferior one, right? And they're antagonists. Erector spinae, with the three guys up here. Spinalis thoracis, all these guys. You don't have to know those names, right? So if I give you a picture, it would be like that picture. And be like, what is this one? Okay. Levator castorum. Those are the little guys in the back here.
Can you see those in the,
What was that?
can you see those in the program?
Yeah, we saw them. They're very little. Do you want me to go back and look?
Those are the ones that go every 2 ribs.
Oh, you just.
How are those different from the subcostals?
So the subcostals go this way.
Okay. So they're basically the same, but one is inhalatory, one is exhalatory?
Yep.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Levator castorum is inhalatory, subcostals are exhalatory.
Yep. Because they do what to the volume of the rib cage?
Increase and decrease.
Right, exactly. That's how you know, right? Good. So this is the anterior. So this picture is important when it comes to the intercostals, right? So we get the external intercostals. See how they're on the outside? Lydia, when you were asking me about all this, were you asking me about it?
Yes,
Okay.
kind of.
Yeah. So remember, like when it's on the outside here, that's the external ones, because when they contract, they pull them up. And these are the internal ones that are in between the ribs, and when they contract, they squish them together.
It still looks like it's in between the ribs to me, but I see what you're saying.
When it contracts, it makes them come out. Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
What is, this is not related to this. What are the other muscles that are in the back and they're connected to the ribs and they go every 2 ribs and also every 3 ribs? They go like,
They're
they skip
the-
one and then.
They're these guys, Levator castorum.
No, there's another one though. I thought, and this goes every rib and then it skips 1, but then there's one that skips 2.
Like the little shorty ones that
Yeah, what are
that
those
you
called?
see that you see really clearly in the picture in the 3D thing, the 3D
Oh,
model.
wait, go
Goes
back.
down.
Go back. Those.
Those
No,
back-
go forward. Go.
Subcostals.
Yes.
Subcostals.
Oh, sorry.
Subcostals.
I couldn't remember what those are called.
Oh.
Those are the ones that you
I was
said,
talking about
there's a
the
bunch of them, right?
Yeah. There's more, when we were looking in the picture, there were like a bunch of them all over the place, because there's more than these two. Okay. So these ones are the antagonists to these guys, Levator castorum.
Okay.
Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I just couldn't remember what they were called.
Mm-hmm. And we get the innermost intercostals here too, which is important. Okay?
Yeah.
We saw this one on the program, transversus thoracis. We had all these guys, gluteus maximus, that's obvious. Posterior, we get the psoas major minor, and the iliacus. We didn't look at that in the program, but they're there. And then I think that's it. So that's it. Okay.
Okay.
That's it.
Mm-hmm. We talked about everything that we talked about in this chapter.
Yeah, I know.
Does that make sense?
I mean, mostly, yeah.
So will there be a word bank for everything?
There'll be a word bank for the IDing the muscles.
Are you gonna make it a tricky word bank?
No, it's just the.
Well, like
Okay,
word banks,
so-
like they say things that aren't there.
So tomorrow night, guys, after rehearsal from 7 to 8, I'm gonna have another review session in here. Okay. So if you wanna come and talk about stuff, or if you have questions,
Yay!
and come with questions, because I'm not gonna prepare anything to go over. So if you wanna come with questions, okay?
Love it. Thank you.
And feel free to ask me questions if you need to ask me questions.
Okay.
I just wanna like meet with you and not write you in.
Yeah, that makes sense. That I feel like.
It was his last name.
Who's got the attendance form?
Okay.